Hello, everybody, and welcome to Blue Jays Today, where you boys always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And as of recording this podcast, we just witnessed the Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins press conference, where they revealed a ton of information. But today, in this podcast, we're going to focus in on that budget. The Blue Jays budget is going to be, per Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro, very similar to last year. No more, no less than it was in 2023's offseason. So what does that mean for us Blue Jay fans when we look at this roster that's completely decimated and needs to go and get a lot of holes filled? You can do that via free agency, you can do that via trade. We're going to talk about the Blue Jays options and what does that reality mean if the budget is going to be the same. Before we get to though, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Blue Jays Today for your latest Blue Jays news and content. So yeah, budget, pretty much the same, Nick. How do you feel about that, first of all, before we get into the details?
We gotta make a number out of that, right? Because Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins, if you watched majority of that podcast, they were not very forthcoming with a lot of the information. I know you started out by saying, well, there was a lot of information. I thought that there was a lot of supposed information.
A lot of talking, but not a lot was said, I guess is the better way to say it.
Yeah, you know, they certainly said quite a bit, but they refused to give a number in terms of the budget. They did say that it was going to be similar to the spend of this year. So we can do the math.
Yes, we can.
We go over to the payroll from this year, 2024. Total cap, that was around $234.5 million. That was ranked 9th in all of baseball. So we were a top 10 team in spending. Certainly not a top 10 team in current. Yeah, exactly. When it came to the results and the standings. But a top 10 team in spending. And they're saying that we should be right around there again. Now, we are having a lot of people off the books, right? We traded a lot of people away. There's some people that we may not sign back, like a Ryan Yarbrough, for instance. However, we also got to factor in that there are guys that are going to be going into their ARB years right now. So if we look at the 2025 payroll as it stands, prior to the arbitrations, I have Spotrac saying that we're roughly $122.5 million. Now, that is for 2025, $122.5 million. However, factoring in those arbitrations, going back to the baseball reference, they're thinking that arbitrations are roughly going to cost $62.5 million. Now, that includes Guerrero, that includes...
there's Guerrero's still on ARB.
Yeah, he's still on arbitration. That includes Dalton Varsho, that includes Kirk, Ernie Clement, Romano, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of key players who are going to be, getting significantly more money just through arbitration, and that should be roughly 62.5, working itself out to be $184.3 million. Now, I want to be very clear. This is a projection. Guerrero could get more. He could get less.
Right.
Varsho could get more, could get less. But Baseball Reference is projecting that our current payroll for 2025, assuming we sign no one, is $184.3 million.
And I'll also toss in, because we've talked about on this show, I mean, there's guys they may not even pick up their options. There was a lot of conversations around Jordan Romano, because he might cost about $10 million in arbitration. A lot of money, right? So do they want to pick him up? My personal standpoint, you kind of need some bullpen guys, and that's one right there that knows his organization well, so they might pick it up, but again, they might go other ways.
This is all assuming that the same guys are on the roster for next year that are currently under contract, and if that is all the case, if we are to have the same budget as we had this year, considering we're at 184 right now, and we were at 234 for this year, that means that we have $50 million to spend in this offseason, right? Yeah, thank you. Math, literally. $50 million, folks, which, if you're not familiar, is effectively exactly where we were at last year. So $50 million. Bullpen, first question, bullpen is decimated. Lineup is in shambles. Starters are good, but
honestly, they're the least needing category.
Yes, we're just praying to God that, the age doesn't catch up to them, because they are starting to get older. But
injuries, too.
And injuries, right?
We don't have any depth.
They kept blaming injuries for this season. I thought that was bullshit.
Which is literally Bo and Jordan.
Yeah. And guys, who got the most wins this year? The team that had over $100 million on the injured reserve in the LA Dodgers. I understand it is a different animal. However, they managed to do it.
Of course.
How did we? Okay,
because we didn't build any depth. Wait, you're getting off topic. But
we're getting off topic. Either way, $50 million, is it enough?
Well, not really. I mean, because here's the thing. If you're just going to make all your acquisitions this offseason via free agency and you're just depending on that $50 million. No, it's not enough because you're going to have to spread across that $50 million amongst all these lower quality players. I hate to use that term, but it's true.
It is.
Lower quality players like we saw last year, Kevin Kiermaier, Justin Turner, which is a 39-year-old veteran, an IKF who actually was okay, but you can tell that these guys aren't the top commodities this offseason. And I want to paint a picture to even highlight this even more, to look at some of these top commodities, in the free agent market. If we're looking at a reliable, shutdown bullpen guy, they're going to cost a lot of money, roughly $10 to $15 million. There's a bunch of guys you can look at examples, but I'll pull up one example right here, which is Kenley Jansen. Some of you might say, I don't want Kenley Jansen. He's too old. He's too old. He's 37 years old. But again, reliable bullpen guy, gives you a good whip, gives you a good ERA, gives you the innings. So he is going to be costing roughly $14.7 million. Again, you can look at some other guys out there. That's roughly the cost of one guy.
And this is just an example too, right? For all those people out there saying, I don't want Kenley Jansen because he's old. I hear you, but some of the younger guys who are putting the same production might even cost more.
Oh, like Devin Williams?
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
That's what I mean, So, if you want to have a reliable player who is still in the prime of their career, let's say 30 years old, for instance, then you could be looking at even more than $15 million. So, $15 million is...
Look at this. Devin Williams, almost $20 million.
I'll tell you right now, with our budget, we ain't getting that guy.
We ain't. So to put in perspective, roughly 10 to 15, I want to give a number right there for a good bullpen option.
One player right there, and it just gets significantly more when you're looking at the lineup. Remember our old friend Teoscar Hernandez? He's doing pretty good over there for those LA Dodgers. They are projecting him at a market value of just shy of $25 million. Frankly, I think that he will get around $25 million, maybe even a little bit more. He's been so solid with the LA Dodgers, and if he does have a really nice postseason, then that's just going to be kind of the cherry on top of why any contending ball team should sign me. But either way, he has had an incredible year. He deserves the money. And this is one player.
Exactly, right? Looking at other players, Santander, they have him at 17.5. I highly doubt that's going to happen.
25.
He's going to be $20 to $25 million. Alex Bregman, $20 to $25 million. Christian Walker, $20 to $25 million. So if you just do the math there, you add those two together to get two quality players in two positions of need. That's just one bullpen piece and one batter. It's $30 to $40 million roughly, and that is, like we're talking about, that's more than half, if not almost all, of the budget that you have to spend. So going back to our point here, it ain't enough, Nick. It ain't enough to fix this bullpen that needs 3 or 4 guys and a lineup. Yeah, you get one, that's great, but you're probably gonna need another one in some capacity, or else you're relying on a breakout internally. So the Blue Jays would not be in good shape if this was our budget.
Well, we need better development, because if you're gonna only spend $50 million, we're operating under the assumption that we need to get proven commodities. Because I haven't seen enough times where we bring in somebody who isn't very good and then make them very good. And the example that I'm thinking of right now is somebody like a Jurickson Profar, who is getting paid $1 million this year by the San Diego Padres to have an all-star caliber season and he's batting third on the San Diego Padres, right? The guy has been incredible. He's getting paid $1 million. The budget's fucking fine if you can find a bunch of Jurickson Profars. Because, let's just get a bunch of those guys. It is very difficult, though, right? So with this budget, we are banking on the fact that we are going to have a bunch of internal growth, that somebody like a George Springer will bounce back, like somebody like a Bo Bichette will bounce back, that Spencer Horwitz might take the next, no regression at least, he might even take the next step, which is very difficult when you think about what the prospect pedigree he had walking into this. He's not a top prospect. He's a guy, and he played very, very well, and I do have hope for him, but now we're relying on that. We need to have all of these guys take that next step if we don't have the money to invest in the proven commodities.
And you know what this is sounding like, guys? 2023. After that season, we were saying, if we just, got to hope that this happens. So, everyone had big regressing years. Well, that can't be. That's an outlier. And then it continued to happen, right? Except for Mr. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So when you're banking on hope, that doesn't give me a lot of hope from a fan base perspective. So there's also another option too, and I've been saying this as well. You have a ton of infield depth, which Ross Atkins has brought up during that press conference. Why not use some of that asset? Because you're not going to play all these guys. You have Bo Bichette, Vladdy taking up half of your infield. So why don't you use some of those guys, send them off, go get a bat, go get a bullpen piece, because that's assets that aren't dollar values that you could possibly bring into this team.
I think that you're going to have to, right? I mean, you guys know how much that we love Addison Barger here on this podcast, but ultimately, if the budget is $50 million, and you're looking at the money here, and you're going, okay, well, Teoscar Hernandez is going to cost half of that, and Kenley Jansen or whomsoever we want to bring in is going to cost a third of that. Now we're effectively out of money. Well, the only way that you can add additions to this team is by trading people away.
Time for a quick shout out to Betway, the best place to make all of your sports bets on all of your favorite sports teams. Betway's in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Must be 19 years of age or older to participate. Scan this QR code down below to create your free account today. Also, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
We have a surplus in the infield right now. Addison Barger, Spencer Horwitz, Ernie Clement, you fucking name it, we have them. They are there. And they are decent enough at baseball to warrant some type of return. Are you going to get a Devin Williams caliber player in return? Absolutely not. That's just not going to happen. But you might be able to find somebody like Genesis Cabrera, who is okay enough, maybe you can squeeze something out of it that will help you. And it's going to need to be something like that. There's going to be a lot of finagling and moving around these assets. And sadly, I think that we're going to be walking into 2025 kind of similarly as we were to this year, with just a lot of hope that this guy's got to bounce back and this guy's got to put up, and we got to see career years from all these dudes if we actually want to be competitive.
And one thing to also consider is when we trade away these rookie deals, those are costing less than $1 million. And when you're thinking about the budget as well, if you're depending on the quality player you want to get back, they might already be on their arbitration years if we are trading for them. So you got to consider that as well. That's also kind of buying in just a little bit. That's the one caveat of going out and trading for guys, because trading for guys in their pre-arbitration years that are doing good are probably very expensive, right? So that is something to consider, which again doesn't give me a lot of confidence, which brings me back to the whole main point before even this press conference started, is there needed to be a budget increase to give us a realistic shot without all this hopium, and it looks like we're not going to get that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the plan literally is hopium walking into the offseason, right?
It's not a good plan.
We kept saying that at that trade deadline. I was a firm voice, trade away Chris Bassett.
Right.
That was the guy that I kept coming back to, because I was thinking, I don't see a reality where we are going to be competitive in 2025. And I was thinking, I know you were saying, it's like, well, we can do it if we have the budget. That's the only way. And I was like, I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to do it.
No,
and it sounds like they are going to do exactly what they did this year, which is this kind of middling, we're in, but we're not in, but we're not out either.
Because it's clear. They're protected. They know they're protected because they're protecting each other. And because of that, they don't need to feel the need. They don't have the need to go out and spend.
Right.
That's it, right? And they literally point blank blamed Guillermo Martinez, which I think we can all agree that was probably coming. It's been 6 years and it's been slowly going downhill.
Well, it was this time.
But then Jeff Ware, how they literally said, oh, we love Jeff Ware, but he had to go. He was doing a great job. Had to go. Point blank, scapegoat. So, that being said, they're probably not going to go spend more than they need to, because they know they're fine. They don't care about you, the Blue Jays fans. They don't care about the listeners. They just care about securing their own jobs. That's all they care about. That's sad.
Well, in conclusion, everybody, I mean, we are obviously going to be supporting this team throughout the entire offseason, and they are going to be in the conversations to go out and get a Teoscar Hernandez, or to go out and get an Anthony Santander, or to go out and do that. But that might be the big move, and it might not be enough to bring this team back from the depths. But you guys let us know in the comments down below. Do you think that $50 million is enough to bring this team back? Can we get some big breakouts? We got to have the Profars. We got to have the Marcus Semyons. We got to have those the Robbie Rays. That's the type of shit that we're kind of relying on right now with the budget where it's at. But you guys let us know in the comments down below.
Guys, $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out, thank you to all of our current Patreon members and to our YouTube members as well. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, go Jays, go!